Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, folks are joining in. It is 10:30 Pacific, and we have a special event today. Super excited for us to kick off a conversation about building the next Lean AI startup. And so, a lot of you have seen kind of the note that went out the last couple of weeks. I am humbled to be alongside with Henry Shi, who's the founder of not only super.com, but also the Lean AI startup, which we're going to dive deep into. And Henry's got a full packed calendar, so we pulled him up before he's going to be getting on a flight later on today. So super excited for Henry to be here, but maybe just a bit of kind of a preamble, and then we'll dive in some intros and just get into a conversation, which I know everyone wants to hear about, which Henry's been able to drive. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Allardyce. I'm one of the co-founders of GenAI.Works. This company has been in play for the better part of 2 years, and we're super excited because the mission, when it was formed with myself, Steve Norrie, and Rhoda Malouf, was a simple principle of helping people discover, learn, and grow through all things AI. And so really a betterment to society, as we know this is a super exciting time, but also an equally confusing time to understand how to apply it, not only to your role, but maybe to a vertical or maybe an idea that you have. And so this session is really going to help dive deep with one of the best, who's really at the cornerstone of some of the greatest startups that are being built in a lean fashion. And so that's kind of the bit of what we are as a community. For those of you that haven't followed us, and maybe you are for the first time, we're super excited. But we're about now over 12 million, and that's across LinkedIn as well as Beehive, a variety of newsletters, and through our live sessions. And our whole point as a company is helping to, as I said, demystify some of the complexity that AI has, and also translate that into an opportunity for all of you to embrace perhaps being a solopreneur, being a builder, and effectively thinking about this as a way to upskill your career and opportunities going forward. So without further ado, as I said, I'm joined here by Henry Shi, and I got to know Henry actually just by reaching out to him. And this shows a power of community around the topic. So one, I'm grateful for that. And next thing you know, I'm talking to Henry at one of his events, all about Lean AI startup. So maybe Henry, I'll give you the floor to give a bit of intro, and we'll get things started.
Sounds good. So, hey, everybody, thanks for having me. I'm Henry, serial entrepreneur. I studied computer science at Waterloo. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10, 15 years. Always loved just building products, talking to users, shipping quickly. And it's been an incredible journey. Most recently, I was the co-founder of super.com. It's a consumer commerce fintech company. Started that company in 2016 in the chatbot era. So back when, I guess, the first chatbot and the messenger chatbots, a little bit before its time. What we learned is very quickly at that time is that one, technology wasn't quite there. Messenger chatbots never really took off people thought it would, and also chatbots are okay for people who are busy, who want to spend money to save time, but the average consumer, they have too much time. They rather spend time to save or make money. So we said, forget the chatbot. Let's focus on what customers really cared about, getting deals and saving money. So we did that for the travel deals for the first 3 years. Then COVID hit, and we lost 80% of revenue overnight. I remember lying in bed thinking, is that all going to be over? Fortunately, we were really good operators, so we navigated ourselves through COVID, and then went down 80%, and then grew and went back up above our pre-COVID levels. So we thought, wow, there's a lot more we can do to help our customers than just travel. There were people who were lower income, lower credit, who really needed to save money. So how do we help them in more ways than just travel? So we raised a large Series B, hired 100 people, became fully remote, got a bank partner, launched 5 different products, rebranded super.com. We did all that within a year and a half. Definitely don't recommend that, but we did it, got it done, and now we're in this all-in-one app to help people save and earn money across travel, fintech, credit building, cashback, rewards, earning money, commerce, etc. So a whole suite of products, and we have about over 50 million total users. We do billions in sales a year, over 150 million revenue a year, profitable. 250 employees. So yeah, it's been a great journey. I stepped back to the board at the end of last year. So my co-founders running the company day-to-day full-time. Company's in a great spot. And I'm on the board. And now I'm spending a lot of time helping founders doing angel investing, exploration, reading AI papers, dabbling in AI, sharing content. And it's just been so fascinating seeing all of the AI developments, and especially around the intersection of AI entrepreneurship and what that means for the future wave of company building. You can be so efficient, so lean, and so easy to build. What does that mean in terms of efficiency, growth, revenue, and everything? So I've been tracking that with the Lean AI Leaderboard, as well as hosting various events, dinners, meetups, and just evangelizing more founders and founder stories. So that's kind of my background. Yeah.
That's awesome. Ted, I really appreciate that. And I mean, so many things to touch on. And as you rightly have also, I think as you've changed position here at Super and John on the board, you've also contributed back to your alma mater from a master's perspective at Georgia Tech. And maybe talk a little bit about that, because one of the things that we hold dearly as a company is we realize that education is being radically redefined. And either on the fact that from a cost perspective or accessibility perspective, and I know you made a contribution there, maybe just share a little bit of some of your thoughts behind that and the vision forward.
Sure. So one of the things that, so the context is recently I made a let's see, 7-figure sort of donation around the cause of helping make higher education a lot more accessible and affordable. And the genesis of that was when I was running the company super.com, we saw we were serving a population that was very much underserved or really needed to save money. But what I realized is that you can't really save your way out of to a different socioeconomic class, right? So you can help get by a little bit, but ultimately to live a better life, you have to increase your income. And that was something, unfortunately, we couldn't really quite solve at the company because our focus and sort of our just company execution, goals, targets, et cetera. And it would be steering a little bit too far away from the original company. So, and then I thought, okay, well, how do you increase someone's income? You do it through job employment entrepreneurship, which is some of the stuff around AI, and then also how do you do it through education, right? So you can have to get educated to then earn more income to then improve your socioeconomic status. So then I thought, well, I don't really know if I'm going to do a startup or a company in the future of workspace, but on education, something I've been passionate about, and I've seen how it's been able to transform my life, whether it's my undergrad experience or my master experience. And I was fortunate enough to go through the OMSCS program at Georgia Tech, which is a top 10 full master's degree for under $10,000. So you can get a full degree. It's not an online degree. It's not a certificate. It's not a extension school. It's a full top 10 degree in master's in computer science with a specialization in machine learning for under $10,000, right? Which is absolutely incredible. And that program, I was the second year when I did that there was a second class of that program when I did it. Now 1 in 5 masters in CS graduates in the US are from that program. So it's been a tremendous impact, and it's also helped inspire a lot of other schools to follow suit. Like UT Austin, UIUC, et cetera, to launch similarly affordably priced master's program. So I think that's really helped disrupt the master's program. The thought is, well, how do you bring it to undergrad level? Because the irony of the master's is if you need a bachelor's to get a master's. So if you really want to change lives, you should do it at the bachelor's level to really transform people and give them opportunities. So, and we all know there's a huge cost of education burden and crisis. The student loans is trillions of dollars, and the cost of education is one of the most, I think, highest inflation products of all the products in the consumer basket. So the thought is, well, how do you drastically decrease the cost of education? And if we can do what OMSCS did for the masters and then bring it to undergraduate level, that would be a game changer. So we're partnering with the school to work on that. We're hiring a director of undergraduate online initiatives. So if anyone is interested in sort of highly accessible, affordable education, it's the role to really spearhead that. But this is a sort of a journey that's going to take some time to work through the public education system. But I'm excited to be able to sort of push that forward and help hopefully make education 10 times more affordable and accessible.
Yeah, it's awesome, Henry. I mean, it's a huge accolade and testament. And I think the big parallel, which we'll get into here as well, is So often we think about company building and all things you have to do, and whether you've gone to undergrad or master's or gone out on your own without the education. There's a tremendous amount that's happening now, where the accessibility to technology, the accessibility to build and to learn vis-a-vis various content forms, folks are getting master classes on the fly, right? And so this accessibility topic is near and dear to us as a company as well, because we do believe that is the shift for individuals to move economic class. And we look at a lot who's been afforded the opportunity in higher education. We know that's not the same for many globally. So that's a big platform for us. And so thank you for sharing the insights there.
Yeah, thanks. And maybe just one thing here.
Yeah, please.
Part of it is also like with AI coming, and every student has an AI tutor in the pocket that could solve any exam, any question, any essay. What is the future of education, right? So if you don't adapt, it may also become irrelevant. So I think it's a opportune timing for these institutions to really think about the role and purpose and shaping sort of the future generation in the age of AI.
Could not agree more. One of the challenges that we've gone through as a board and helping the company think through is so much of education goes through a process of definition of what should you be educated on, and the time to actually create the curriculum, and by the time that is actually employed for somebody then to take the class. In the age of AI right now, it's going to be out of date. It's a clear fact. So I think there's great opportunity, and your testament to what you're doing personally, and hopefully things we can support together. It's just great to see. So well done. Okay, so let's make a transition here. There's so much to unpack. So much from the time that we announced having this session when I first was having a talk with you till now. There's so much that has gone on in terms of Lean AI startups. But before that, you touched a little bit on your time at Super and hitting this point during COVID where it was the dark moment of like, wait a minute, is this going to exist? Maybe just share a little bit about this, if you would, the mindset, yourself, the team, and thinking through that, because I think for so many entrepreneurs and builders, it's a questions that happen, pre coming up with the idea, early stages of launching it, and then obviously going through a lot of ups and downs. So maybe just some of your learnings and thoughts there would be awesome to hear.
Well, I think when COVID first hit, no one really knew what was going to happen. We were going to get a term sheet for our next round, and then that suddenly went away because COVID, and no one knew what was going to happen, and people were all spooked. We saw our numbers dip dramatically the first week. I think it was March, maybe 20th or something. Right, the first week, everything just dipped. Things were being shut down. Nobody could go out. And yeah, it was scary. It was scary. But I think I had a sense of maybe a level of optimism or confidence in our ability to execute. We were always really strong operators. We were able to, pivot different directions, different companies, different focus areas, and really just stay true to our execution ability. So we just looked at the situation sort of objectively and said, okay, here's our top line, here's our burn, here's our revenue, here's where the select small group who are still traveling, right? And how do we double down on that? And how do we continuously to cut costs, be efficient, pare back marketing channels that weren't performing, renegotiate some vendor costs, and kind of have everyone rally through it together. So yeah, I think it was a little bit of, I guess when life throws you lemons, you sort of make the situation and you squeeze and you sort of make lemonade, right? And we did that. And then we realized actually we were able to actually thrive through COVID. So we actually grew. And that's when we really did a double click on like, what's going on? Why are our users still traveling, and what the persona, what do they need, and really to click into our customers. And that's when we really realized that there were people who really need to save money, and $5 is the difference between going on a trip or not. So we kind of decided to think bigger and go beyond travel, because travel is fine, but the average person travels once, twice a year. And there's a lot more ways to help them save money than just travel. So that really inspired us to expand much bigger to the company we are today. And fun fact, over 80% of transactions today are non-travel. So it's a well-diversified revenue stream using the product. Actually, I think our journey through COVID is featured in a Harvard Business School. So so you can take a look at that. I'm just pulling it up.
Awesome.
Here, I'll put in the chat. Actually,
Cool.
put in the comments.
Yeah, put in the comments if you would there.
Yeah.
Very cool. And highly recommend folks to read that, grab a coffee, grab a drink, go through it. There's a lot to learn from it. Would it be safe to say that, super.com being truly one of the first super apps in definition?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't use our super app anymore, but you can look at it that way. I think we kind of used to say North America is number one super app because truly I don't think has anybody in North America been able to take this approach, and we find there's a lot of value in terms of offering a one-stop shop for all the use cases for our customers, and then making it super easy and accessible, and then you can cross-sell them, increases engagement, retention, monetization, and really it's a place to help our customers in many ways.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's switch to the topic that I know everyone is here for. I want to bring up the Lean AI Leaderboard. So, folks, and we can also throw it into chat as well. So, I mean, Henry, when you came up with this, obviously you're still with Super as you are on the board now. Like, what prompted kind of thought? What were you starting to see, and then said, "Hey, wait a minute. You know what? There's something here we can galvanize." So, for folks that want to check it out, we can go through some of the companies, but maybe just a little bit of the story of what sparked your thoughts here.
Sure, sounds good. You want to share the screen, or I can share?
Yeah, let's do that. Is this all right? Is this sharing here? I think everyone should see this in the StreamYard.
I don't see it, but hopefully other people see it.
Okay. Let's see.
I see it. Okay, great. Yeah, so the context behind this was, I started writing a lot of content about after I stepped back to the board of the company, right? So one is I just had a lot of stories over the last 8 years of building this company that I wanted to share. And when I was at the company, I really wasn't sure, if I should say it or not. Like, what do my employees think? What do my customers think? What do my board think? And then after transitioning to the board, I was like, I don't care anymore. I just say whatever I want. So it's a lot more authentic and a lot more open. And I think people really like that. The authenticity, the open, the vulnerability, the wins, the losses, successes. Because, if you go on LinkedIn, a lot of the content is like, oh, I raised my Series A. Oh, I hired my head of sales. But I was sharing content that was a lot more like sort of real, a lot more authentic and raw. And I think people really like that. That was how I started. And then through that process, I also started writing about AI because I was really curious about it. I had studied computer science, machine learning, AI before, but didn't use it day to day for the last 5 to 7 years. So it was a chance to go back, read the papers, catch up on everything, and dive into the details and sort of share my learning. So it's a way to learn and sort of share at the same time. I spent all of December reading a bunch of papers, catching up on the progress. I wrote a pretty viral AI crash course that kind of helps people catch up to the latest public frontier of AI and just the most important 10 papers and the sort of certain concepts to catch up on. That went pretty viral, got a couple million impressions on LinkedIn, Twitter, and 4,000 stars on GitHub. So I thought, wow, okay, this is AI stuff is a lot more popular than founder stuff. I mean, founder content is great, but the reality is there's not that many founders. Whereas AI content, everyone is curious about AI, right? Whether you're a student, you're academic, you're a policymaker, you're a consultant, you're a big tech, small tech, startup, like everyone cares about AI. So then starting this year, Jan of 2025, I really sort of focused on AI content. It was almost like PMF for content, for content, to kind of give people what they want.
Yeah.
So I took that, and so then there was the intersection of AI meets entrepreneurship. And around early spring of this year, you started seeing a lot of posts on Twitter, on LinkedIn around, this company grew from 0 to 20 million with 50 people, right? Like Cursor, 11 Labs, Mercor, and et cetera. And I was like, wait a minute, I met some of these founders before. So as a founder, you sort of get a chance to meet other founders. And two is this data is floating around everywhere. There's got to be more companies doing this, especially now with AI. It's so easy to build. It's so efficient and low code and et cetera. So how do I help kind of highlight these stories and collect it in one place? And then I was chatting with my friend who is the founder of Affinity, which is a CRM for VCs. And we were chatting about some ideas. He had also stepped back to the board. And I was like, what would be kind of fun to write about where people cared and investors cared? And he's like, one of the things that maybe one of the only things an investor cares about is beating other investors on a leaderboard. And so kind of like the Forbes Madness list, right?
Right.
So I was, oh, that's interesting. So then it all came together in the sense of, okay, well, you can collect all this information, make a leaderboard out of it, make it like public, make it sort of gamified, people feel competitive, and then help evangelize and highlight these founder success stories. So I remember I was on a ski trip, skiing, and then at night I was putting together this leaderboard, buying the website, working on the launch, and then we launched this thing I think sometime in March, and yeah, people just loved it. It was also cool because we had a great company like Telegram doing $1 billion with what is this, 30 people, right? So it was a great headline. But we launched this thing and it went viral. People were sharing it, referencing it, and we got I think millions of impressions now across social and the site. And it's just been a fun way to highlight these stories. And now a lot of founders and investors actually reach out to me to say, hey, this company is doing 10 million revenue, we should be featured. So it's a good way to highlight and feature these founder success stories. So that's been really fun to see and build. And lastly, I think it's a way to help sort of highlight a lot of these founders because historically you kind of had to raise a lot of money to build awareness, brand, and sort of flex, right? So, oh, look, I raised $100 million, but actually we only had 2 million ARR. Well, now it's the opposite, which is, wow, I'm making 50 million ARR and I only raised, I was bootstrapped, or I only have a team of 30. So it's a way for these founders to get the spotlight without having to raise a lot of money, be diluted, and really sort of build lean, efficient companies. Man, it's just incredible. All these companies I never even heard about doing, tens to 50 million plus revenue. So it's just really incredible to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. And we know a number of them. And like, I was talking, in particular, we'll get back to Base 44 because that's a recent one that we should talk about. But I was talking with the folks at Haven, just on the basis of, ourselves, of, helping the team evaluate different ways to think about tax. And it's interesting to hear team members' approaches of being just first principles, lean, what is it that I need to bring to my customer? And therefore, how do I, redefine how my operations might work in this notion of agents? And that's probably one of the biggest things that people are coming to us and we're rallying around is, how do you rethink, business building, and what it is that you're bringing to a customer, which is ultimately the thing they pay for. But there's all this beyond that, is obviously a lot that has to be put in place for companies to operate. And so, as you click into some team members and how fast they think about agents being just another person in doing an automated task or work and building those workflows, I think for some, the excitement has been around, this is the next product that is going to change the way that people work. But it's the iceberg in the fact that there's 90% of things that have to go on beyond this, behind the company. So maybe if you can share just some of your thoughts as you dig in with some of these companies, how they're approaching company building in this world of AI.
Yeah, I think one thing is a big part of this is just the mentality and the psychology of it. I think a lot of founders have seen the rise and fall and crash and burn of these hyper venture-backed companies, right? So they're more aware and they know. And actually, if you're a lean AI team, like 10 people doing 20 million revenue a year, every single year, you're doing way better than most, the majority of venture-backed founders, right? Because it's a huge prep stack and you're super high valuation you have to grow into. It's a lot of stress, manage all these people, and you're forced to grow. Versus here, like a lot of these companies, I mean, these founders are ambitious, so it's not like lifestyle companies. They're not in Thailand 20 working 20 hours a week. They're ambitious and they're driven. They're working really hard, mostly in major cities like Bay Area or New York or etc. So, but I think it's just a different way and a smarter way in many ways to build a company. And it also starts a lot with a mentality of like, how do I do everything with AI and try to stay as lean as possible? So because once you grow, hire people, it's hard to go back, right? Like you can't go from 100 people back to 10 anymore. Like maybe you can go back to 90, but you can't ever really go back to 10. So being really thoughtful about who you hire and the team and having a really high bar for talent, and then augmenting everything you do with AI, whether it's coding or automation, customer service, growth, etc. So it's been really great, cool to see that I guess just mentality and mindset. And also most founders would agree that more people is more headache, more opinions, and people can be great, but it's just harder. It's much harder to navigate the company. There's much more complex web of dependencies and communication. And if you can just be efficient with AI, then you can certainly achieve a lot more and move faster. And finally, I'd say, in the age of AI, when building is so easy, one of the only defensibilities, and maybe the only mode, is speed, right? How fast you move and iterate. And if you can be lean and have a lead team, you can move a lot faster just because you're all on the same page. Your coordination costs much lower, and you can continue to maintain that momentum and speed, which is maybe one of the most important things.
Yeah. As you talked about it, and that speed, and oftentimes we go down the path of hiring, and we hire because we need a skill set that
Right.
perhaps we can do or can't do.
Right.
And now this mindset of realizing, well, I can turn to an agent and I can actually start to define how a skill set should be and how something might work. It's a bit of a rethinking, is a reskilling of yourself. To your point, as you talked about, even back to the accessibility of education or how individuals might work. So often we go back to a comfort zone of, well, I got to hire this role, we got to take this over, and there's a lot of context that comes with that. Whereas an ability to build an agent that is actually going to look at, say, how you think about a distribution strategy, and how you might actually promote your product and the way that it would work. For some, it's a difficult transition. So, like, maybe one thing to dig in on. Let's take the recent one. So Base 44. You did a session with more. I mean, that story was remarkable in many ways. One of this necessity, and then obviously the scarcity, and dealing with the conflict that is happening with respect to Israel and Iran. But the point of this motion of saying, wait, there's a different way to think about building a tool set, which came as an idea from his girlfriend needing a website build. Maybe you want to just unpack that, because here is an example of a solopreneur that said there's a different way to do this, and maybe I can take a lot of complexity out, and maybe build a product, and we know the result, which we'll talk about in a second. But you want to dive into that one a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've gotten to know. I think you might have to share a new tab or something. But
Yeah.
I came across Base 44 as I was playing around with a bunch of local tools, and actually, it was not the first to market. It was quite late, quite a bit after Lovable, Bold, Vercel,
Right.
etc. But the way that he built it was very much like batteries included, all in one. You don't have to connect Superbase or auth and this and that, but just everything included, all in one for the non-technical person, right? So it's quite good. It was quite effective. And I knew it was going to get somewhere. So want to get in touch. It took a little bit, and finally we got a chest, but it was after the acquisition. So missed my opportunity to be an angel, but it was so great. And we connected over many things because his last company was similar. That he had raised over 100 million in venture funding, hundreds of people. And it was like a traditional non-AI SaaS company. And since after coming back from the army, he wanted to, his co-founder was running the company, and he wanted to do something different. So this time, completely bootstrapped, one person building a low-code tool, right? A low-code sort of tool, using AI to build his own tool. So he was literally one person doing everything. So coding, marketing, distribution, customer service, design, etc., and using AI. I think he was saying 90% of the front end was AI generated and about 50% of the back end. So it's been incredible to see how much you can build with AI, using AI to build AI, which is also pretty meta. But yeah, and then he was testing a bunch of marketing channels. A lot of things didn't work, like running ads didn't work. But what worked was building in public, because a lot of the audience were entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. So building public, sharing his story as a one-person company building AI, and it just kind of went viral, getting hundreds of thousands of impressions, getting a lot of signups. And then he also built a feature where you can share what you built on Base 44 to earn more credits. So that became sort of a flywheel. It's a compound growth. And and then after 6 months, he grew from 0 to 250,000 users, over 3.5 million revenue a year, and much more than that now, and got an acquisition for 9 figures, right? I mean, it's 80 upfront cash, and then much more than that later on. So well into the 9 figures total, and it's incredible. It's just incredible journey of what you can do with one person who's incredibly talented, focused, and in this market with AI, it's just really incredible to see the whole story and journey.
Yeah. I think to that, and it's kudos to more, and now a small team that is driving this, but you can see this pattern, especially for Wix, right? Picking this up, who would be, one of the early in the website builder kind of arena, that all of a sudden is like, wait a minute, now I've got an AI builder. And so you can see this play out. But I think what's remarkable, one of the story is, and I think Sam Altman said it somewhere a couple of weeks ago, that the idea guy is going to have their day in the sun. And we're, and I laugh at that, being an idea guy myself, is like, it's exciting to see, because it really has been the last 30, or some would say arguably longer, where you had to go to school to learn a language, a technical language, in order to program a machine. And now, because of all things, again, AI for AI and the meta concept, but the fact that someone can take that idea from raw conversation into some sort of prototype, right, is happening as we see it. And so the excitement, I think, so much is you run into anyone who is non-technical and maybe is probably very fearful of AI, but has a very gleaming idea and a passion to take something forward. And now all of a sudden, that sort of bridge that used to be the reason why someone couldn't, which was, hey, I had to go hire a developer to help them go build something. It's wrong. Now you have the ability to take that and kind of push it forward. So we're in this era of, hopefully, I think in many ways, helping the next generation of builders kind of realize those ideas very quickly. So yeah, I mean, so back to the board, what's interesting is you kind of characterized this concept, like you and I were talking just briefly at the notable event, which was cool, that this kind of 1 million 1 million ARR per employee, and not to say that that's a benchmark, or maybe that is a benchmark to follow, but like, what sort of feedback have you been hearing from the venture community, knowing that there's a lot following and trying to garner through this as they think about investments and the type of investments they make in some of these companies in early stage? Any things coming forth there?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, because I don't think a lot of VCs know how to think about these companies just yet, because they've never seen growth this fast, right? Like traditionally, 10 million was enough for maybe like a Series B almost. But now you have these companies going from seed or bootstrap to 10, 20 million. So what does that mean? And I think for a venture, it's never been easier to go from 0 to 10, but it's never been also been more unclear who's going to go from 10 to 100 or beyond, right? And you have Jasper as a great example. You went from 0 to 100 really quickly, and now back down after ChatGPT, and now it's kind of stabilized a little bit, right? But that story was definitely a cautionary tale. So I think for the traditional equity venture investor, it's quite difficult. They can't quite make sense. Is this like, how sticky is revenue? Is it AI tourism? Is it not? Is it sticky? How high the switching cost? And so I think a lot of them are sort of unsure and kind of waiting on the sidelines, which is good and bad. I think, for the founders too, it's what does that mean, right? Like, if you're profitable and growing and lean and efficient, do you need funding? What do you need funding for? Are there alternative types of funding that's maybe better? Maybe it's non-dilutive, maybe it's secondary, right? Maybe there are other forms of funding that's better suited for your growth and what you need to do. So these are all things that are kind of pretty active topics right now, and I'm hosting some events around them as well. So just to explore, but it is an open question. And I also say it's also not always easy for all companies to fundraise, even if you have efficient revenue, right? Because a lot of these companies are consumer companies, and historically VCs have really shied away from consumer companies. But now with AI, I feel like it's a bit of an unlock, especially as you see here with consumer prosumer. And just for the first time, we have all these incredible experiences where word of mouth and organic distribution might actually work. So it's definitely a very interesting time.
Yeah, indeed. So I know you posted not long back about GenSpark. So definitely a big fan of them. They're speaking at the GenAI Week summit here in a couple of weeks, and this idea to think about kind of a super agent, or agents for multiple research capabilities. Tell me a little bit of just some of your interactions with them. Anything that you found interesting, because I think it's opening a whole world of research for people to be able to bring insight to analytics quicker, or building new applications. But anything on GenSpark themselves?
Yeah. I mean, I also met with the founder of GenSpark, so it was great to connect and chat about his background in the company. And it's actually an incredible story because the founder of GenSpark actually was, I guess, they were both very senior executives at Google and Baidu and leading search, and they had done a startup within the company, grew it to hundreds of millions of revenue within the parent company, and decided to step out and do their own company. So it's no surprise that given their experience, their talents, their technical and commercial sort of just ability, they were able to raise 100+ million right off the bat, right? And they started in search, actually, I think AI search,
Mhm.
but then realized that was not the sort of future direction and pivoted to agents and super agents and really giving it more structure and guidance. So a lot of people, compare them to Manus, right?
Yep.
So Spark versus Manus. I think Manus, the approach was more around giving the AI tools and letting the AI decide, whereas GenSpark, giving it general tools
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
browser and computer, and letting the AI decide, whereas GenSpark is more around giving a specific tools and tasks and functions and doing them in a guided, structured way through workflows and then the AI solve multiple tasks through that. And you'll see, which is true, that GenSpark is much faster, right? The way they're able to solve problems is much faster than a generic computer use agent or operator or Manus. And I think that's been their sort of approach, is giving the AI specific tools for different types of problems, and then giving a little bit more structure and guidance to solving them. So yeah, it's great. It's a great experience, and I'm also not surprised they were able to go from 0 to 36 million in 45 days, right? So, and I'm sure it's much higher now. So I'm excited for the next post.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. All right, so one big thing you talked about it in one of your recent posts, and it was a great visual that you got created. I think this gavel and auctioneering of AI startups and big companies acquired. So this is obviously the tail of the tape. You have startups where you feel like you have no constraint, the ability to move quickly and execute. And then you've got the incumbents, let's say, of the tech companies of Fangs and others. Great talent, still just the ability to ship fast. But then you've got other companies that are not the Fangs, that are like, wait a minute, I have to learn, I have to build, I have to be as relevant in this AI realm. And so what I'm going to ask you this is a little bit of like, it's a mindset, right? So if someone makes a career choice and goes in a bigger company that might be more established but less innovative, like how to take this first principles AI thinking into that, knowing that they have a great opportunity to evolve a product or potentially something that already has a moat because of the market that they're in, versus someone saying, you know what, no, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to go build an AI lean startup. So my point of question to you is this notion of a mindset. You've yourself been an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur, investor, you've seen these companies, you've seen people build and then come out because they don't want to be part of the big company, go to small company. Maybe just share some of the mentality, if you will, for folks, because I know there's so many solopreneurs listening in right now that want to make the leap, but they say, you know what, that's too risky. I want to do it within the big company. How do I do it? What's the mindset, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, I think, are actually quite different, right? Because being an entrepreneur, you still are operating within the constraints of the company, and sure, it could be more exciting and more freedom than maybe a regular 9 to 5 job, but there's still some constraints within the company and direction and focus. Whereas being an entrepreneur, it's you live and die by the sword, right? It's you make the decisions, it's your funding or lack thereof, and you're hiring and et cetera. So it is still quite different. And I would actually say that the career path don't overlap as much as people think, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're pretty set on doing your own thing, controlling your own destiny. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably optimizing for some hybrid of that. So that's kind of my first take. I would say people who want to do, if you really want to do a startup, you should just do it. There's no better way to learn than to just do your own startup. I mean, maybe you can work for a startup a little bit to get to learn the ropes a little bit, but other than that, the best way is to just be your own boss and sort of start your own company. Right now, especially with AI, it's so easy. Whether you're technical, non-technical, semi-technical, you can at least build a prototype and probably get it to market and deploy it very quickly, so you can get signal, market demand. Like for example, my girlfriend, she's not technical at all, and she built this, AI VC analyst tool, right, just in one weekend, which is crazy. So now anybody can build. There's really no reason not to just build stuff and launch it. So I mean, my overall take is, like, I think it's never been easier to go from 0 to 10 million within this age of AI. But it's also never been, I think, more harder or unclear or competitive to go from 10 to 100, right? So it depends on the company you want to build. If you want to build a $100+ million company, venture-backed hyperscaling, that's a whole different ballgame than being a Lean AI founder, 5 people making 10 million a year.
Yeah, it's awesome, Henry. I think the mindset of it is wonderful, and I think what's happening in this unlock is, GenAI.Works. One of the things we helped steer the company to do is to actually buy a hackathon company last year, and the principle of that was, you can learn through the short form of content on LinkedIn and other platforms. You can learn vis-a-vis hands-on education, but this really the ability to apply it and move quickly. I think we're seeing a big shift too from the traditional hackathon, which was kind of reserved for technical founders. You had to know something about code. Now you kind of have, we don't know what you call it. We don't want to say it vibe. I think that's a good hype thing. But like you just said, and we're going to bring up your topic about your girlfriend and what you and her have helped to build with this investment, which I think is phenomenal, especially for solopreneurs. But I think this ability where more people can try and really get hands-on and not be fearful of, like, well, I don't know how to code. It's not hopefully that barrier anymore to move very quickly and try to put your idea out there, no matter how clunky it looks, right? If you're not shipping fast enough, you're really kind of behind the 8 ball. So that being said, let's talk about this on the Lean AI Angel. So I'm going to bring this up here. So talk to me a little bit about this. I mean, I saw what you posted and I was like, WTF. I'm like, all of a sudden now you're defining a framework as to then evaluating investments and really doing it on the basis of, as an angel or VC would, to say, hey, show me the frontline forecast of where you think this would go. But maybe tell a little bit about how this came to fruition.
Yeah, that's great. So I've been doing a lot of writing as well about this new concept of seed trapping, which is related to the sort of Lean AI startups, right? So is there some way where instead of continuously raising money, just constantly diluting yourself, you just have a good seed round and then you get escape velocity and you're good to go, right? So you're not bootstrapping, you don't need to dip into your savings, but you're not also raising money consistently forever. So this concept of seed trapping, which I don't know if you want to pull up this. Give me 1 second here. We just want to pull up this. Actually, maybe I can just share, make it a little bit easier.
Actually, you might be able to share, I think.
Yeah, here.
All right. Well, I'll stop sharing. Why don't you do it?
Right. If you can see the screen. So I have, oh, do you see it?
No. Let's see if we can, the team flip it over.
I see it down below, but I don't know if you.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I'll put it in the chat if you want to share it. You can.
Let me do that. I'll pull this up and I'll share it across. 1 second. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I've been writing a lot about this new concept of seed trapping and how it compares to traditional methods like venture-backed or bootstrapping or bootscaling. And yeah, it's just been really exciting to see this new form of company building and how seed trapping might actually help more founders, because you actually are able to compound your growth without dipping into your savings, and also potentially or not dilute yourself continuously over time, and then eventually maybe reverse dilute yourself based on buying back from investors. So doing a lot of writing about that, exploring different ways of funding alternative forms of capital. At the same time, I've been a founder and an investor and an angel and LP. So I've been seeing all sides of the table. And if you just scroll down, you can just scroll through this and you can see some of the comparisons. So, I've been sort of on all sides of the table, and the current fundraising process is just super inefficient for everybody, right? So if you keep scrolling, you'll see some charts and stuff. But the current process is like just super inefficient for everybody. Like founders spend, so much time fundraising, talking to investors, knocking on doors. And when the reality is 90% of investments are outbound, right? So the investor goes outbound to find the company. So if you're, and by the way, when I say inbound, that includes getting an intro from a founder or a friend, right? So if you get an intro or you're reaching out to a VC, you're already in that 10%. So it's already like super inefficient / low odds. Most of the deals are outbound, where the VCs proactively reach out to the company they want to invest in. So that's one thing. And then two is with the VCs, they get thousands of pitches a year. They reject 99% of them, and they probably don't even look at half of them.
Right.
And then everyone's trying to chase the one or two founders who are, ex OpenAI, Stanford, et cetera, to really who they think are going to build the next decacorn, right? So there's a whole super inefficient process. But the irony of it is that if you sum up the revenue of the 999 companies the VC rejected, that's probably higher than the one they try to pick, right? So is there some way to support all these like good and great companies that waste all this time trying to fundraise, getting diluted, when in fact they're building great companies and maybe they should just bootstrap and grow and control their own destiny? So that's kind of the sort of premise of this. And so I decided to write some of these term sheets. So I've been investing in some sort of bootstrapping alternatives, like whether it's a rev share, royalty based, et cetera, non-dilutive, non-recourse funding. And as I've been doing that, there's definitely been some a good market demand and PMF. So I thought, okay, well, this is kind of manual. I want to automate this, and being a Lean AI Leaderboard person, I should live by example. So why not try to automate this, right? Like it's pretty easy. The AI should be good enough to look at the financials, make an assessment, and also look at the deck and do an evaluation. So that was the premise of that. And another big sort of insight was that one of the fundamental reasons why fundraising is hard is because there's a big gap between projections, what you believe, and what the investors believe, right? Because if you looked at any projections, if you like any startup projections, if you actually believe the projections, you should invest in every single company.
Exactly.
Because there's this no-brainer, right? Like you look at the projections, you're gonna go from 0 to 20 million in 2 years and blah, blah, blah. Like if you actually believe that, you should invest because that's like the best deal ever. But the fundamental issue is that people just don't believe it. And there's no way to like, I'm right, you're wrong. Like it's all subjective. So then the thought is, okay, well, instead of debating about subjective numbers on a piece of paper, why don't you just tie the funding to the projection, right? Like if you can hit your milestones, you get funded. Like it's pretty easy, right? Like if you can actually hit your projections, then great. Like everybody wins. I'll give you funding, and it's great. If you can't hit your projections, then you don't get the funding. Like it's much more simpler. So that was kind of the initial sort of like aha moment. And my girlfriend, who is a former investor, she knows nothing about code. She doesn't even know what a terminal is or what HTML is. And but just with Claude and Claude Code, within a weekend, she was able to build. And this is crazy. If you can pull up the
I'll go to here.
This is actually not the crazy part. If you look at this one, if you click on the link feed, she was able to build fully end-to-end a qualitative and quantitative analytics tool for analyzing. So you can upload a deck, an Excel model. The AI will like use computer vision to understand it, read it, do web search. There's a chat interface you built so you can like interact with the deck and ask it questions and do research, do a competitor mapping, a competitor matrix, generate a memo, do forecasting, all these things. Built it, deployed it to Vercel, connected to GitHub Actions, auto deploy with Vercel functions, and hosted everything end to end within like 48 hours, right? So it's crazy. Like someone not knowing what a terminal HTML is and still actually doesn't know what HTML terminal is, to shipping that and deploying it was just absolutely crazy. And now I've been using this tool to just help me write these term sheets, and it's been really fast and efficient. And it just kind of shows you how powerful it is.
It's amazing.
This is not the tool. Like, I mean, I don't know if you pulled up the LinkedIn feed, but
I'm sorry.
I don't know if you're sharing the screen or if you're sharing the tab.
Then let me. I've got a security fault here, so let me bring up off of. I should do it off of LinkedIn here. 1 second. So bringing up the. Let's do this. I don't do that. It's got me stuck in Chrome. All right, we'll try this. You see it?
No.
No.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, sorry. So we're going through your post on it.
Right. It's like an infinity mirror, but it's fine. It's fine if you can't pull it up. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's we're gonna stop that real quick. Okay. So in talking through this, so girlfriend, you pull this together as a way to simplify this notion of, kind of the seed strapping, or the way to seed fund. Think about this in view, and I think we'll flip it to comments and questions from the audience here, because we got a lot coming in. But this actually very well aligns to perhaps two big things. One is you've got this notion where somebody can build a product or an idea and bring this to market very quickly. And if you do have this ability to test quickly in the market and get that feedback, you're able to go actually have a conversation around potential growth, which increases your confidence potentially as an investor in them, quite aligned. This is a completely complementary tool for somebody who might be a first-time entrepreneur to think about growth versus this, I believe the market is X and we're going to, scale it to a TAM of 200. Like, we get out of that glorified conversation and into reality of unit economics of how something might scale. So, I mean, from this point of view, it's quite amazing what you guys, or what your girlfriend has put together and what you're helping to bring forward. So, I mean, from this, are you getting a lot of? I'll just bring it back up, the page itself. But are you getting a lot of a conversation where you're having to deflect, saying, "Hey, not ready, doesn't make sense"? What's been some of the feedback loop that you've seen thus far as this has gone out?
Sorry, feedback for
Just
me, or
what you've learned as a result of putting it out there, and some of the opportunities, deal opportunities that are coming your way.
Yeah, I mean, one is there's a lot of international founders, right? Which I haven't quite figured out a way to do yet, because just, cross-border, international stuff like that. So that's been a little bit unfortunate, but maybe we'll solve that one day. It's a lot of international founders, and also a lot of founders building great businesses. People building businesses that's generating good revenue, good growth, but just because they're not from Silicon Valley, or they don't speak perfect English, or didn't go to Stanford or whatever, it's unfortunately hard to raise traditional venture, right? So, what are the alternative ways to support these founders and help them build amazing businesses that maybe venture funding isn't required, or maybe it's not in the best path. So there's all these sort of interesting opportunities in founders, and then sort of being able to help support more founders and help more people become successful is something that I think is a North Star of mine. So hopefully through this, whether it's capital or knowledge or experience, help more founders be successful.
Yeah, well, I think it comes full circle to what we started with in conversation about, creating the accessibility of education, or making it more accessible for others. So putting the cross-border challenges of investments aside, I mean, we've run into so many folks through some of our, Vibe courses and what have you, that are building off their mobile phones that would have never had exposure or access. But now being able to take something into potential production and trying to scale that out, I think what you're doing is remarkable. Not only in your kind of career trajectory, but what you're seeing as these patterns to potentially have a new unlock in terms of that. So, all right, so we've got a few minutes left, and a lot of comments coming in. So let's see if we can take a couple here. And a lot of folks obviously wanting to connect with you, which is great. But let me see here, Irina and Marcelo, if there's anything that's big coming in that you guys want to share. Okay. Good to see folks from South Sudan and others, and Rwanda as well. Anyone got questions or comments that you want to throw in here? Okay, here's a couple coming in. All right. Here's one. I'm currently researching structural alignment and governance in AI deployment. How are you approaching real-time integrity checks as these systems scale?
Oh man, sorry, I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. I mean, I'm mostly focused on entrepreneurship and Lean AI stuff. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I'm taking it right off the bat, but it's a good one. We'll get an answer for you on that. Thanks for bringing that one in. So this one might be also out of the realm, but let's take it anyway. So, can prompting be systematized, or is it always a creative task?
That's a good question. I'm sure there's methods for prompt optimization, right?
Yeah.
You can continuously run through some eval cycle to optimize your prompt. So I guess the question probably is yes, yeah, I think it can be. I mean, there's also, I think in the future world, like the AI models will probably help you refine your prompt. Like you can use AI to refine your prompt and then prompt AI. So I think it's gonna get so good that eventually it becomes sort of prompting is not maybe as relevant as needed. It's mostly about I think just like extracting requirements, understanding what you actually want, but the actual like technique of prompting itself may go away in the future.
Yeah, I think the hyper personalization is going to continue to improve and get better in that regard. Well, one I have for you, and we can use this as a closeout. So you've been through a lot of great experiences through your career and what have you. What would be a couple things to share with the audience as budding solopreneurs, entrepreneurs wanting to do their own thing, or just like we said, mindset in a bigger company, but really embracing this moment. So, what would be some of the things you'd want to share?
Yeah, I think it's just really I mean, it's a little bit generic, but pursue your dreams, ambitions, and goals. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you should just do it, because a key defining characteristic of entrepreneurship is bias for action and resilience, right? So just do it, and you're gonna stumble, and you're gonna learn, you're gonna fail, and it's gonna get back up and try again and keep trying until you succeed. So yeah, I think it's just getting out there and putting yourself out there and doing it. Like, I just started writing content because I wanted to share and tell our story. And you're smart, you adapt. Some things work, some things don't, and you just keep iterating. So just like entrepreneurship in any regard. So yeah, I think overall just kind of having a bias for action and pursuing it, and just enjoying the journey, because there's always going to be a challenge, a milestone, a hiccup, ups and downs, and just you got to enjoy the journey.
Yeah, it's awesome. With this, we'll answer definitely more questions as they come in and we filter through them. But I want to thank the audience for grabbing some time. I know it's late for many folks that might be in Europe or Asia Pac if you've happened to stay up. But this will be recorded as it is here, and we'll share this out. But I want to extend a great thank you to Henry. It's been great getting to know you here in the recent. We are big fans in terms of what you're trying to bring in terms of awareness and experience, because it's creating the encouragement that I think so many people need to take that step. And oftentimes it's that support that they need with someone being able to say, hey, you can get this done, go do it. No better time to make this happen. I know you got to run to catch a flight to the conference in Paris, the Raise Summit. So GenAI.Works is also promoting and helping to support that. So we'll make sure you run into some of the folks there. And then for folks that are Bay Area based, definitely check out the GenAI Week Summit. That is July 13th through the 17th, bringing together some of the greatest minds. And hopefully we can get Henry to join us as well if his calendar works. But Henry, thank you so much for your time. And thank you everyone for listening in. And we'll get this out and share this out for everyone who was not able to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hope it was helpful. And if you like my content, follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Substack. Share a lot of great content weekly about AI entrepreneurship. And so great. Thanks for having me. And see you around.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Henry. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.